ॐ ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्तदामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः. We'll read the first three verses. श्रीभगवानुवाच परं भूय प्रवक्ष्यामि ज्ञानानां ज्ञानमुत्तमम् यज्ञात्वा मुनयः सर्वे परां सिद्धिमितो गताः इदं ज्ञानमुपाश्रित्य मम साधर्म्यमागताः सर्गेऽपि नोपजायन्ते प्रलये न व्यतन्ति च मम योनिर्महद्ब्रह्म तस्मिन् गर्भं ददाम्यहम् सम्भवः सर्वभूतानां ततो भवति भारत. Creation is unfathomable. It is the attempt of the Upanishad Rishis to explain the phenomenal world to the extent possible for us to comprehend. And creation is an expression of the one as many. Upanishad very clearly says, like that of Ishavasya Upanishad, Ishavasyam idagam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Yat kinchit, whatever is there, Jagatyam in this world, everything is none other than the one single presence, Ishvara only. Tasmat Ishvara bhavena achadaniyam sarvam jagat. One should see the one presence in all. Ekameva advidiyam brahma yatyavi bahuvida drishyate. Even though there is only one, it appears to be many. Tasmat karanat, due to that reason, Vishwasya Srishti Vicharaha. Therefore, there is discussion on this Srishti. Drishtatvat Srishti Vicharaha. Because it is perceived, it is seen, and experienced. Because a common man wants to understand the reason behind what he sees. Our observation about the world happens through our senses, and we take our senses to be very true, whatever they bring us as the information, and then based upon the sense stimuli will be our vichara, thought process. So even though there is only one Brahman, there cannot be anything other than that, then where is the question of Vishwam? From that standpoint, there cannot be anything called world. Yatyavi, even then, lokadrishtya srishtihi asti. From the standpoint of the transactional beings, there is srishti. Tasmat, therefore, there is the discussion about how the creation came about. So in this third verse, the creation has been spoken earlier as kshetrajna samyogat in the 13th chapter. Here that same thing he says, me and my prakriti. Mama yonihi, the womb that is there for me to place the seed of existence. And what is that? Mahat Brahma. Here Mahat Brahma is not Brahma. Okay. The word Mahat is because of its all-pervasive nature, and Brahma should be here considered as Prakriti only. So, Prakriti mama yonihi ityartha. It should be understood as Prakriti is my yoni, the womb. Tasmin, in that yoni, aham garbham dadami. I put that seed. Please be careful about this discussion that is ensuing out of this. Sambhavaha sarvabhutanam. Sarvabhutanam sambhavaha bhavati. He Bharata. Tataha thereafter. Thereafter, the creation of the whole thing happens. Now, when we look at ourselves carefully, when we wake up in the morning, the thoughts arise as soon as you wake up. I am. If you have gone to bed without eating, then I am hungry. Or if you have fought with your life partner or somebody, then that thought would come. Or some urgent work which you could not complete, that will come. So the question is, where was all this when you were asleep. From where do they originate? It was not there until the point of you waking up. And suddenly, everything springs up as though, somebody is putting it in your head or in the body, hunger, thirst, whatever. So that is to say that until you wake up, there is a suspension of the Prakriti in the form of thoughts, emotions, feelings. All other things are waiting as though. So our masters have analyzed this carefully and said, our buddhi is the abode of consciousness in the sense it is where the reflection of consciousness takes place. It is always technically known as Chidabhasa. Chidehe abhasaha. So of the chit, of the consciousness, abhasaha, reflection. The reflection of consciousness, and because of the reflection of consciousness, there is awareness. When I say I am aware, it is in that reflection of consciousness, the objects are perceived. In the reflected light, you see things. As you all know, every day when you open your window as soon as the morning, you see many things outside your window. You're not seeing the sun. But you are seeing all things because of the sun. Because all of them are reflection of the sun only. You are not directly seeing the sun, but objects are seen because of the sunlight reflected through the object, by the objects. In the same way, all thoughts are basking in the light of consciousness, reflected light of consciousness. So here, Bhagavan Krishna, what he says is, in that Chidabhasa, I am reflected as Chit. In the pool of water, the sun is reflected. And the reflected light through which you see everything, but if you look at the water, there is reflection of the sun. Correct? That reflection of the sun perceived in the light is the seed. Chidabhasa, the reflection of light, because of which I am able to see all other things. But the reflection in the water, there you can see the sun. But again, that is not sun. It's only an amsha of the sun. The sun, which is far above in the sky, is reflected in the water. Because of the reflection in the water, you see all the objects. In the same way, Brahman reflected in Maya is Ishwar. And because of the Ishwar with the Maya, objects. Creation, therefore, is a combination of the combination in the sense the presence of Ishvara in the pool of Maya, making all the object come into existence. Otherwise, what happens is, as though Ishvara is sitting there and creating each one of them. कोई काम नहीं है क्या? So it is not that Ishvara is sitting there and creating things. Think about it. A pool of water in which there is no sun reflection. Can the pool of water reflect anything? Can the light be seen anywhere? Anything near that also cannot be seen. I have a mirror on which the light is not reflecting. That mirror cannot illumine anything around. The moment I put the light and the reality is reflected in that mirror, then the mirror can be used as a reflecting media in which all other objects can be seen. Sun Brahman. Reflection of the sun in the mirror, Ishvara. Mirror, Maya. Objects that are perceived is the world. I hope that is clear. So what is the role of Ishvara here? What does he do? He doesn't do anything. He is just present. Nobody is reflecting. He is not reflecting. His presence unconnected to Maya. Brahman unconnected to Maya sitting there. The reflection and the light is reflected in the pool of Maya, Prakriti, and that is what he says, I am Bija, I am Garbham Dadami. I get reflected in Maya. Because of which, Sarvabhutanam Sambhavaha. So, our individual vasanas are also come to manifest only when the tamas which is covering the Maya, it is covering during the time of sleep, which is Maya's original tamasic nature. When you wake up, which means you have invoked rajas and tamas in you, at that very moment, the reflection of consciousness comes to illumine all the thoughts which are suspended. Then you come to know, oh, yes, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I want that, I want to finish this. So as though sun has risen. Until then, there is only darkness. As soon as the sun has come to rise up in the sky, everything is perceived at once. Extrapolating that, the whole creation is because of the Maya, which has gained the ability to bring them to manifestation with the help of the presence of Ishvara, who is none other than the reflection of Brahman. Right? This is, as I said, it is to explain the experience of the world which we happen to see. Sarvabhutanam sambhavaha tadaha bhavati e Bharata. And beautifully Bhagavan puts the word Bharata. Bha means illumination. In that bha, that illumination, yasya ratihi, one whose delight. In that consciousness, one who delights is called Bharata. So that's why he says, oh, the one who is shining, who is enjoying, reveling in that light of consciousness, who is called really a Bharata. And when we say world, obviously we mean names and forms. That's what distinguishes one from another, and the variety is also perceived in this creation, and that the variety is also accounted for. And that is why in the next verse, verse number 4, Bhagavan Krishna continues, we read, please repeat. Sarvayonishu Kaunteya Murtayas Sambhavantiyaha तासां ब्रह्म महत् योनिः अहं बीजप्रदः पिता सर्वयोनिषु कौन्तेय मूर्तयः सम्भवन्ति याः तासां ब्रह्म महत् योनिः अहं बीजप्रदः पिता. हे कौन्तेय, हे कुंती सन, याः मूर्तयः नामरूपात्मकाः, of the nature of names and forms, and only when there is a form we call it as a murti. A murti, the very word, presupposes limitation. Anything that has form is defined. Anything that has got a form must have a limitation. Therefore, murtayah means jivaha, namarupatmakaha. So these various forms that are there, sambhavanti, ya murtayah sambhavanti, those very jivas, living beings that are being produced, sarvayonishu, of all wombs, mahat yonihi, yonihi mahat brahma. Yonishu, mahat, among all the wombs, Brahma is considered as the Mahaprakriti, Mula Prakriti, or Mahat, what is referred as, is the womb of all the wombs. So, in other words, in Vedanta we say, Ishvara is Samashti Karana Sharira Abhimani Chaitanya. Consciousness associated with all the Karana Shariras or causal bodies of all beings. Whereas Hiranyagarbha is another manifestation, is none other than consciousness associated with all subtle bodies. Samashti Sthula Sukshma Sharira Abhimani Chaitanya. So when we are walking and talking and many other things that we are doing, definitely every action is prompted by thoughts. A thought or many thoughts prompting us to engage in actions. Which means when we are active physically or even thinking, we are using our subtle body. And when we are associated with our gross body, that's when we feel hunger and thirst, pain, physical pain, exhaustion, those things. So when we are awake, we usually are we are aware of the association with the subtle body in the form of thoughts, feeling, emotions, etc., and associated with the gross body with respect to the gross physical form. But when we go to the state of deep sleep, we renounce the association with the physical body, conscious attention upon the physical body, as well as the subtle body, and go and identify exclusively with the Karana Sharira, causal body, which is avidya. Now, as it is happening to us individually, it happens collectively also. When all living beings, please make this point in your mind, when all living beings only identify with the Karana Sharira, that's called Pralaya. The whole universe has merged. Because there is no activity taking place anywhere. When you go into state of identification with your Karana Sharira, it's called Laya. When all of them do, it's called Pralaya. When I identify with my subtle body and gross body, I become an active individual. Similarly, the consciousness associated with the total subtle body, it is given name Hiranyagarbha. And so here, Hiranyagarbha is the manifestation of all the thoughts and all emotions, all feelings of all living beings. And when the physical world is perceived, that is the Chaitanya associated with all the gross bodies of all beings. Samashti Sthula Sharira Abhimani Chaitanya is called Virat. Vivitam Rajate. One who manifests in many forms. But in all of them, the Moola Prakriti is the same. The source is the same, Prakriti, Maya. So the Maya, the Prakriti, which has the three gunas, is going to be the topic of this chapter. And individual names and forms are constant expression of these three qualities only. And so, Tasam Brahma Mahatyonihi. Mahatyonihi here should be understood as earlier as put also Prakritihi. Prakriti is the womb from which all other living beings come to manifest. As I said, when all living beings come to identify with the Karana Sharira, causal body, it is Pralaya. That is when it is said the creation ceases to be. And when they start manifesting, it's called Srishti. All of them come to start manifesting. It is like a seed when it is not sown in the ground, it is still potentially it is capable of producing, but it is not yet given the opportunity to do so. But when it is put into the earth and then watered, etc., it starts manifesting. Srishti starts. Until then it is unmanifest condition. Bijasya antarivankuro jagadidam prag nirvikalpam. Without any manifestation. Just like the individually we don't manifest until we wake up, similarly, the whole creation would not wake up until the Sutratman Hiranyagarbha comes to start expressing. The total subtle body and causal body, gross body come to manifest. And that is what is called Sambhavanti Murtayaha forms. And Gurudev writes in many places, the form that you take up and I take up is based upon the vasanas that we inherently have. The variety is caused by the varieties of impressions we have been carrying on for a long time. And in this lifetime, whatever impressions that I deeply, I carry and have it, will be manifesting in the further births. And therefore, if I am subject to having many vasanas, there will be many births. Reduce the vasanas, reduction of birth. No vasanas, no birth. It's a simple arithmetic there. So, at any given point of time, you should be able to observe and see, hey, am I creating new vasanas or I am reducing my vasanas so that I don't need to come back? So, unfortunately, even as we are attempting to reduce our vasanas, new things are coming. New gadgets are coming. New video games are coming. New movies are coming. New dishes are being produced. So we create new taste for them, desire for them. And as even we continue to live and we are unable to anymore experience through our senses, because the senses have become weak and tired, the body has become fatigued, old, but the desires have not become. So therefore, Bhagavan is very, very gracious and democratic. You still have the desire, come back again. Right? Angam galitam palitam mundam jasana vihinam jatam tundam vruddho yadi grihitva dandam tatapina munjadi asha pindam. Even though physical body is old, frail, body has become weak, teeth is gone, hair is gone, holding onto a stick, the fellow moves, but desires have not. See, you understand, mind never gets old. Body does. So body's old age, because of which mind is unable to experience the world the way it was before, it would not give up. Those desires in the form of asanas are still there, so therefore it will manifest with the new fresh body again. So if all the living beings, therefore, individually, they are all germinating again and again and again and again. What is the original cause? Mula Prakriti, Maya. Vasanamaya Kosha is still holding all the impressions there, and based upon that, Murtayah Sambhavanti. Ya Murtayah Sambhavanti, he Kaunteya, Sarvayonishu, in all causal bodies. The main causal body is Avidya, it's called Mula Prakriti Maya. That Tasam Brahma Mahatyonihi. And in that, the Maya cannot express itself unless there is a presence of, as I said, Ishvara there. That Aham Pita Prakriti Mata. I am the father and Prakriti is the mother. So, if you see, Atman, Adam. Other one appeared to be there, Eva. Therefore, Adam and Eve. Atman, Eva. The Eva, as though it is not actually there, but it is because the explanation has to be given in about Srishti. Therefore, it is as though present there. So, here, Aham Pita Prakriti Mata. Aham Bijaprada Pita. Bijapradaha Pita. Prakritihi Yonihi. From there only the whole manifestation starts. All right. This is to be understood. Now, if Murtayaha, all forms have come from the same source, you clearly said that you are the Pita and Prakriti is the Mata, all right. Then we all should be of the similar nature, right? So, according to the cause, so will be the effect. And Ishvara is the father, Pita, and Prakriti is the Mata, mother. Then why there is so many different varieties? That is what is to be understood now. The variety has to be explained. And because of the variety alone, the world is so vibrant. If everybody wants the same thing, it'll be a disaster, right? Think about it. All of us want the same thing. Then the world will not be what it is. What I want is what you don't want. That's why you are able to give that to me. And what I do not want, you want it. Therefore, I am able to give it to you. If you go to a restaurant, there is a list of various dishes, menu card, because not all of them want the same thing. And different things are given. Even if you go as a family, as a single family, you sit in a table, each one wants different things. Some people want what is not there in the menu. What will you do then? They said, this and this and this combination of that, then make another one. So why do we have different tastes, different requirements, different needs, variety of things? And what you needed yesterday, you would probably reject it today. Tomorrow you want something else. What is that which makes this variety, multiplicity possible? So that is explained as guna, qualities. So the verse number 5, we'll read here. Sattvam rajastama iti guna prakriti sambhavaha nibadnanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam sattvam rajastama iti guna prakriti sambhavaha nibadnanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. Hey Mahabaho, O mighty shouldered or mighty armed Arjun, dehe dehinam nibadnanti. Avyayam dehinam dehe nibadnanti. The imperishable self, indestructible self, which you and I are, dehinam, atmanam, dehe, in the body, nibadnanti, binds. As earlier also I said, Purushaha prakritisto hi bhunkte prakritijan gunan karanam gunasanga. How we are bound by the body? What is the connection between the spirit which is free and the matter which is limited? How the spirit is conditioned by the matter? The spirit which is imperishable, avyayam, it is given very clearly. Indestructible, unchanging, imperishable self is as though bound, limited, conditioned, constrained, restrained within the body. How is that? And why? You know, when I see outside my window sometimes, some people walk with the dog, the chain. They hold the chain and then the dog goes. Now I wonder whether the dog is taking the fellow for a walk or the fellow is taking the dog for a walk. It invariably I come to laugh at looking at that. It is the dog that is taking them for a walk. Otherwise that fellow won't go anywhere. Dog is so compassionate. Hey, useless fellow, you're not doing any exercise at all. Let me take you for a walk. Come on, let's go. So the bondage created between the free spirit, the free soul, between the free soul and the body, there is this connection. And this bondage is because of what? Gunaha, by the qualities. Prakriti sambhavaha gunaha. Prakritehe sambhavaha. Born out of this Prakriti. So Prakriti here to be Maya, Maya sambhavaha. And if that is the case, all of them should be the same? No, in that Prakriti, there are three gunas. Sattvam, Rajaha, Tamaha, iti gunaha. Now this Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, which is a very beautiful contribution of Sankhyan system, which Vedanta has taken up to explain the world. Vedanta has no intent to explain the world. But when it comes to a question of why the world, it takes the help of Sankhyans. Because the Uttaramimamsa, Vedanta or Upanishad, they are all accommodating. Whenever they want, they will pick up things. About bhakti, chalo, wahan pe le lo, wahan se le lo. About world, okay, yeah, Sankhyan se le lo. You just take it because basically it has to give an explanation about things, but ultimately the point should be to prove the one without a second Brahman. But since our minds are not subtle enough to understand the highest philosophy of oneness, we are still caught up in the world of plurality. Therefore, help of all the Sankhyan systems to explain the world is taken up by Vedanta. Why I am saying this is, in the Upanishads, you will not find many mentions about Rajas, Tama and Sattva. You will not find it. In Gita it is there. But you will not find the Upanishad, many places you would not find the mention of Rajas, Tamas and Sattva. No. From the highest standpoint of the Upanishad, the world, explanation of the world is only secondary or tertiary reason only. Primary reason is to prove the oneness only. But we are living in the transactional world and we want to know why there are varieties here. And therefore, Prakriti, Maya, which has these three qualities, according to the Sankhyan system, is brought in by Bhagavan to explain this. So how the individual self, which is imperishable Purusha, is now as though conditioned by the Prakriti. Prakriti's external gross manifestation is Deha. So Dehe Avyayam Dehinam Nibadnandi Gunaha Prakriti Sambhavaha Rasattvam Rajas Tamayiti. Swamiji, I don't feel the bondage. If you are not feeling the bondage, please leave the class. Because it is not meant for you if it is the case. If you go to a doctor and say, so how are you? Fine, doctor, no problem. Then why did you come? No, I want to see how you are. Do you have a problem? I just want to check up how you are doing. No, there are people. I came to the lecture to see how much you know. Whether you are explaining it correctly or not, I just what I want to find out. I just want to know whether you know it. So if you don't feel the bondage, it's good. When you feel the bondage, you come back. We'll find out how to explain to you. Bondage is always there in all the jivas, and we do not pay attention to it. And when it started to force itself, then it is too late. When you are young, you don't need to do any workout or anything. You don't feel like doing. No, I'm fine. Everything is fine. Digestion is good. I'm feeling active. I'm feeling alert, and I have. Then the Madhya Pradesh starts growing. And you are not digesting properly. You're not able to get up and do with the same energy. क्या हो रहा है? Why am I like this? Then somebody who is your well-wisher would say, आप कुछ yoga करो, some workout you do, so that your digestion will become better. So in the same way, when we are busy in the world, we will not see the bondage. But, okay, Swamiji, even if you say that there is a bondage, how this bondage is experienced by me as different from each other? Rajas is separate bondage and tamas is separate bondage and sattva is another bondage? Yes. Individually separate? Yes. Not one? No. That is why it is necessary for us to know how each of those bondages are and how to overcome each one of them. These three of them are individually binding you differently, not in the same way. One is subtle, another is gross. Something is in between subtle and gross. So unless you know the varieties of those bondages and how they bind, you will not be able to find a solution for them. See, not all the medicines are the same. It depends upon the sickness that you have. Correct? When I was growing up, I hardly would go to a doctor. Thank God, touch wood. But if I happen to go because of somebody else is sick, and then I will be staying outside. I don't get into this, the main part where the diagnosis takes place. And there used to be a compounder, in olden medical clinic compounder. He makes the medicine for the required for the person. And I have always seen, he puts the same thing for everybody. Same mixture for everybody, different bottles. I used to wonder, how is that possible for him to give the same thing for everybody? And nowadays people, Swamiji, I take Tylenol every day morning as a routine. Why? I am expecting some pain. Hare Baba. Expected pain during the day, Tylenol. So here there is no one solution because each one of them are binding differently. Swamiji, I understand tamas and rajas can probably bind, but sattva also binds. Yes. That's why Bhagavan starts with sattva, first of all. Understand, even sattva is a bondage. I thought sattva is good, Swamiji, because Bhagavan said nitya sattvastha bhava in many places. Sattvic, being a sattvic also a bondage. Yes. Okay, fine. Let us start with what is the bondage caused by sattva, the guna, sattva guna. First of all, we understand what is sattva. Then we'll see how it binds. Verse number 6. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakashakamanāmayam sukha sangena badhnāti ज्ञानसङ्गेन चानग तत्र सत्त्वं निर्मलत्वात् प्रकाशकमनामयम् सुखसङ्गेन बध्नाति ज्ञानसङ्गेन चानग. हे अनग, agarahitah, sinless. Agam is sin. Anaga, meaning oh sinless, meaning sattva is considered to be devoid of sin. That's why he refers to him as a anaga. O sinless one, hey Arjun. Sattvam tatra, there, in that, meaning in that context of explaining the gunas, tatra sattvam is nirmalah, malarahitah, pure. Here nirmalah means it does not pollute your mind. It does not create jealousy. It does not create anger, passion, greed. None of those so-called agitations are found when there is this quality of sattva in you. It is good, no? Why are you saying that it is also... No, wait. So, sattvam nirmalam, malarahitam. And because it is pure, prakashakam. It is illuminating, clear. Because if there is a glass and if you clean it very well, you can see the other side as well as the light can come very well through that glass, or right? So if that transparency is there, then the clarity is also there. So impurities are removed, then there is a greater light coming in. That is true. And it is clearly seen. Yes. And anamayam. Amaya means sickness, one meaning is there. Another meaning is, it is anamayam. Anamayam means it does not have a confusion. There is no doubt. One meaning, amaya is sickness, anamayam is health. Healthy mind is what? Healthy mind is doubtless mind. Mind which has conviction, faith, etc. An impure mind lacks faith, doubtful, unclear, confused. A pure mind, transparent, illuminating, and it is healthy. Swamiji, you are telling everything nice. Yes. Which I don't have. No. You also have when you are in the presence of Mahatmas. You see, when you go to a temple where your beloved Lord is there, decorated beautifully and there, and chanting is going on, puja is going on. At that time you look at your mind. Calm, peaceful, quiet, enjoying, pleasant. And all other unwanted things are just rejected and kept away. Even if there is any other impurities come, you just don't pay attention to it. Or you are in the satsanga. You are listening to some stories of the Bhagavan or Vedanta Vichar. There your mind is getting a clarity, pure, unagitated, shant. So what it amounts to is, when there is sattva, then there is jnanam. Clarity, thinking, ability to understand, reflect on, So, jnana sangena, it is associating you with higher knowledge. What is knowledge? What is unknown becoming known is knowledge. Right? What is not known earlier, you come to know about it. That is called knowledge. That the process is called knowledge seeking. So, a quiet mind is capable of gaining new information, able to reflect, think about it. And usually, when you gain a knowledge and clarity, there is joy, there is happiness. Oh, yes, now I understand. There is a certain feeling of fulfillment, an accomplishment, a clarity, a kind of satisfaction. Ah, yes, correct. Now I understand. That is called Sukham. But Swamiji, you are telling everything positive. What's the problem? The problem is it doesn't stay. See, bondage is that, the bondage is that which holds you in a condition. And so, Sukham and Jnanam also holds you in the position of feeling good, feeling joyful, feeling peaceful. But then, when you are not able to be there at all time, you feel so miserable. That is why people, you do puja, they do puja, they are almost Shiva Swarup only. Then when they come out of the puja, they become Rudra Swarup. How is that possible? So very often, when you go for a satsang or Gita, Jnana Yajna, whatever it is, and your husband or wife, whoever is not there, at home they are feeling, oh yeah, my husband or wife, they have gone to satsang. When they come back, they'll be a better person. But this not happen. When you come back, it's the same anger, same frustration. क्या मिला उसको? क्या मिला वहाँ पे? What did you gain out of that? So when I am there, Swamiji, when I'm in satsang, I'm so peaceful. When I go back home, I have to meet those Rakshasas again. But what happened then? So Gurudev used to say, you left the shoes and slippers outside and came here, listening to me. And when you go out, you wear the same shoes and slippers and go back home. So along with the shoes and slippers, your original personality starts again. When you are here, you are okay. The moment you walk out, everything starts. And so such people, you know what happens? They become satsangartinah. They get attached to that satsang only. They get attached to that. So I have to go to satsang. Why? Because that is the only place I can be happy. And after that, I cannot stand these people. So they escape from other aspects of their mind which they cannot stand. It is like when we are in the company of those people who always respect us, adore us, or love us, we would like to be in the company of those people. And those people who are jealous of us or talking not good about, we don't feel like being there. Why? Because we are not ready for it. What it only shows is we have become weak. By holding on to something which you like, you are actually becoming weak and vulnerable towards other things. Is that which is prakashakam, anamayam, nirmalam, etc. But that also binds you with a feeling of fulfillment, a joy, sukham, because you are gaining some kind of an understanding, jnanam. But then even that is also temporary only, and therefore in the absence of that, you are vulnerable, you are weak, you are unhappy. In this way, it binds. So, Swamiji, you mean to say that I should not be sattvic at all? No, it's better than rajas, better than tamas, no doubt. So, if this itself binds it this way, what about rajas? Oh, we'll see that tomorrow. What it does. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ